I mean, I feel good, just weird. I want to tie my shoe. Yeah, go ahead.
Fantastic, weird, great start. Love it.
Welcome to Friday, everybody.
So I like to start off with this question. What has your experience been like working on this show and seeing the love for these characters all these years later?
I think it's pretty impressive that a storyline gets to hang on for as long as something like this one has and resonate in so many hearts. It really does blow me away every town I go into. I've been to Tacoma before, but never to Seattle proper. So to get to meet just all the folks that are kind of, have this love, it's kind of amazing to me. It really blows me away. I'm glad we spent so much time and energy putting into this show.
Oh my God, I love your nails. So my girlfriend just really got into nails, and especially the gold ones. And so she's constantly showing me nail polish. And then I told her, I said, you need, because she's constantly shaking. I go, I want to get you a nail polish shaker that will shake it like a paint can. That goes, brrr, they make one. And you strap your nail polish in it, and it goes, brrr, just like a paint can thing. And it shuts off after a minute. What was the question? I was just distracted by your right hand. Your left hand, not so much, but your right hand I was distracted by. Yes, sorry. Shiny object, sorry.
The question was, what was your experience been like working on this show?
See, that's a broad, profound question. Justin's really good at succinct about experience working on the show, so let me collate 26 years. I consider it the most profound and surreal thing and the best thing that's ever happened to me. More than half my life I've spent playing this, well, almost half my life I've spent playing this character. And I tend to think philosophically and spiritually about the profundity of art and how it affects people and my effect on it and how it affects my art affects other people. And so it's always extraordinarily shocking and humbling and gratifying to watch people like hug you or cry or tell you they've been through loss and marriage and death and everything through it, and to know that you're kind of a vicarious part of that or a tangential part of that, is what I think about when I'm recording. Actually, I really, it's important to me. Just don't say, he's been my producer almost the whole time. I want you to believe Goku might be real, because if you believe Goku might be real, then the chances that you're going to stand up to that bully or lose that weight or achieve that goal go way up. So I need to make you believe Goku's real is my job, and everything I have or own, including my long friendship with Justin, I owe to Akira Toriyama Sensei. So that's kind of how I feel about it, and I could go into a lot of stories, a lot of detail. Everybody in the audience, look at, we're all here, all these years later. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's very special to see the longevity of this show, because anime, especially one season, sometimes it's done. So the fact that this show has stood the test of time is absolutely amazing.
And it's a testament to Akira Toriyama's genius, especially. I saw a question on there I want to answer real quick, because I'm a little bit defensive and in a good way. Someone said, because I had someone tweet me once like, well, yeah, back when you enjoyed it, and they said, do you still as exciting as you do? Oh God, yes it is, and here's why I know it is for me. And Justin, I don't know about you, but because Justin is a musician, but I'm a classically trained French hornist, and when you go to classical music school, one of the things they teach you, and one of the things I'm very good at, is I played the Mozart Concerti as an example thousands of times in 30 years. And every time I play them, they're just as fresh. Every single time I play them. So when I was taught music school, you play, you perform like you've never done it before, and so I clear my mind, and every time I step in the booth, even if I'm groaning a little bit because I got to do screaming, the second I transport into Goku's character, it's like 26 years haven't passed. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So I always, 100%, always bring it harder and fresh every single time, because if I don't go big home and go home, all the other things I said earlier won't matter. So, longest session I've had to endure 12-hour days in a row back when I was trying to catch up on Cartoon Network, and I'm doing your job. Sorry, I'm a mile a minute today. I've had too much caffeine. I'm gonna shut up now. Go.
You're gonna answer every single question.
Oh, I like them, and I should let you do your thing, and I'm so distracted by them. Sorry.
You actually might have answered already my next question, but I still want to
If you let me talk long enough, I will answer all the questions. And I will.
We're gonna do rapid fire. I'm gonna get
all of them. I argue with ChatGPT all the time. No. It's like wrong, and then it goes, oh, and ChatGPT goes, I'll tell them they're wrong, and ChatGPT will go, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. And I go, why did you miss it? It goes, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. I go, no, I asked you why you got it wrong first, and it won't ever answer me. And it'll say, I'm sorry, yeah, it makes me so mad. Go ahead.
Are you trying to find the consciousness within AI?
Yes, and a lot of times it'll go, wow, that's a very deep and insightful question. I go, I know it is, I'm a deep and insightful person. And they're like, well, thank you for saying that. I'm like, yes, thank you. I will go on and argue with ChatGPT, particularly about quantum physics. But go ahead, yeah, let's do it.
Well, my next question, I kind of wanted to get into the specifics a little bit about dubbing and the industry because DBZ has been around for quite a bit of time. My question is, can you talk about what it's been like recording the show back then, like when it initially came
From
out?
production technical level?
From like, yes, because the industry has grown extensively
I have
since
several
then.
stories about that. Justin, I'm going to dominate here. So Justin, he's my producer for Crunchyroll, and he was there back in the day too. And you remember when we first started, in order to dub a show, you had to link up your Pro Tools rig with a $25,000 machine called a Digibeta, which has these giant master tapes in it, and they're all talking to each other. And so a take will take really long because here's what happens. Justin might be directing me, he goes, okay, Sean, your line's this number, you're gonna say Kamehameha. I'm like, all right, cool, let's watch it once. Rewinding. And it's going for like 5 seconds, then it goes boop, boop, beep, and then I watch it, and then we do it again, and if I screw it up, we have to go through that whole thing again.
Well,
Now,
but even just as soon as you watched it,
Yeah.
and then we go, okay, now let's grab it.
yep, same thing, yeah, all the
Let's do
whole
it one more
thing.
time. So I mean, it was arduous in that the technology moved much slower. And today you're able to kind of, once you find a rhythm for a character and for the lines that are coming out
That
of it,
rhythm can get really screwed up by that tape machine.
but that tape is going to pause it every single time.
Yep.
So that was a big difference of it, and then also just the time to do it was different. The world of simulcast didn't exist. The streaming universe had not come to fruition yet.
Well, there's another. Keep going.
But it's trying to get to a home video medium or getting to a broadcast medium. So being able to kind of move to that just allowed for a slower time frame to get it done, which was good because we didn't know
Well,
what
we
were
also
doing.
had trouble getting materials because you couldn't deliver materials digitally over the internet. So we would get master tapes from Mexico instead of Japan because Mexico is much closer to America. So I heard the Mexican voice of Goku before I ever heard the Japanese voice of Goku. And I didn't hear the Japanese voice of Goku really until I started working on the video games.
But I
Did
mean,
you
even
use
trying-
that voice was that the voice you used for like kind of like a sound reference?
Oh God, no! I don't. That is no. I don't mean an insult to Masuko Nozawa. I mean God, no, as an insult to my craft. Meaning I don't look at dub actors as less than or underneath the OG because I'm doing a voice for a separate demographic and a separate culture and a separate audience. So I think they're all kind of equal between countries. And the tone that was established for me to play Goku was established by the Canadians who I was taking over for. So I didn't even get to communicate with Japan or even talk to Masuko Nozawa. Now, had they said, we really want you to do this, I would absolutely have done it. And I would have wanted to talk to her or work with her and really get, and in dubbing, there are two schools of thought. Some producers, some productions will go, and the Japanese client will say, we really, really want you to copy this as close as possible. Some Japanese clients will say, no, we want you to do something cool in American, or we want an impression of Clint Eastwood. They'll say things like that occasionally. It's not always cut and dry. But the other note on the materials that I wanted to say, which I thought was really interesting, is that I was working as a director at NYAV Post, which is Michael Citro-Nicholas' studio, and he was the first guy to figure out, I'm pretty sure worldwide, possibly in the entire industry, he wasn't making a lot of money, so he was always trying to figure out how to do stuff cheaper and faster. And so he was the first guy to digitize video into QuickTime videos so we could dub to that and then throw that into Pro Tools to be able to do that. He was he'd probably be the first studio to do it. And then I remember he told you guys when you were at Funimation, he told one of your engineers, and then you guys started doing it. So I think he gets credit for having done that. And that was once we switched to QuickTime, then you've got takes that go a lot faster because you're just the rewinding is instant, you know. So
I was gonna say in the beginning, how long would a session be compared to now?
Well, then you've got another variable. I was much slower as an actor in the beginning, and now I'm way faster. So now I can. When I started, I would do a take, in 12 to 22 takes, and now I do a take in 1 to 3 takes, and a lot of times just on the first take, because I will roll with the Japanese and just go and do it, and if it's good, I just know it's going to happen, because I've done it so long. I don't know about you, Justin. You've also done it a very long time. But was that way for you Yusuke on Yu Yu Hakusho or anything?
True.
Sorry, I'm a little bit mile a minute today.
We're gonna get through. So
Yeah,
many
sorry,
questions.
I don't
Amazing.
want to derail you, but I wanted to be clear on that. Like, philosophically, it's always been hard for me because I take the character as if I'm the only one playing it, but I also acknowledge that everyone does. The reason I do that is to make a more believable performance. That would make the argument that the original cast of Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare's time is the only and best cast. For all I know, the Italian cast is the best. I have no idea. I don't compare them. I'm just saying, when I'm thinking about being Goku, it's me and Goku and nobody else. I'm connecting with the character directly. I'm not going through a bunch of filters psychologically to do it, because that's the only way I think I can make it believable. Sorry. Sorry. She's like, hey, you're data overload. Sorry.
No, I love this.
Okay, good.
I love the thought
Sorry.
that's going into all
So
of this.
there's a lot of thought that goes into it. He knows because I call him all the time.
So you both, in this show and in other shows that you have been doing English dubbing for, voice multiple characters. And so kind of a fun little tech question, I guess you could say, is when it comes to recording those multiple characters, how do you prefer to split it up? Do you like to go with the not as vocally stressful one first, the one that maybe has less lines for the episode?
It's real simple. Goku's voice has to sound clean unless he's got battle damage. So it's Goku screaming, then King Kai, because I can always do King Kai no matter how screwed up my voice is.
Yeah, I can do King Kai any day with my voice is screwed up. No matter what.
I can always do it. Now sometimes it works out great because I'll be doing a lot of like fighting and then I've got a line after that and then my voice is a little raspy, but I'm thinking, well, he's been screaming at Vegeta with all these screams, so his voice is a little battle damaged. And you can hear it on the end of Superhero when I'm like, you got me, Vegeta. That's my voice actually damaged from doing all the screaming I just did, which I just said, well, then Goku's voice might be damaged from screaming at Vegeta just now, so then it works. But you gotta be careful to make sure that doesn't, if Goku hasn't, he's gotta be clean sounding and not raspy until he's Super Saiyan 3 or 4. So, which is another long conversation, but yeah.
No, I just scream. I'm good.
Yeah, he's good. He just screams. Raditz is like, I'm screaming and I'm good.
I got this.
So my next question is, because voice acting is also, it's acting. So when you're in the booth, there's a lot more that you need to do than with physicality than just your voice. So for this next question, is there anything specifically that you can remember that you did in the booth that helped amplify a scene? Any props, obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of physical movement that goes into this too.
I got a really funny story for you, but I'm gonna let Justin go first because I keep dominating this panel. You go first. I have a funny story about Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct and my microphone I brought in for the studio to do that. But go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I got it. What's your story?
Oh wait, I don't think Justin wants to. You do want me to dominate this panel?
I'm
Okay.
fine with it.
So, first of all, I noticed a question that I want to answer tangentially, which is, when I loved it because it was a given. It said, which anime has traumatized you the most? You assume that there's an anime that traumatized, like it's a given that if you watch anime, you're eventually going to be traumatized, which is probably true, especially if you've seen Berserk, which I've been. So here's a funny story about Dragon Ball Super, and then for those of you who are nerds, I might go into a sub-tangential thread about second and third order harmonic distortion as it relates to microphones, but I'll try to keep it simple. So I was working on Dragon Ball Super, and I knew I was gonna have to do Ultra Instinct. I'll try to do this as fast as possible. I knew I was gonna have to do Ultra Instinct, and I thought that it was gonna be really funny if I was experimenting with microphones that do higher frequency recordings because most microphones go from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and our human range of hearing is around 20 hertz. However, there are harmonics above 20 kilohertz that have fundamentals between 10 and 20 kilohertz that are affected by those harmonics. So I thought, I was really into this. So I thought, you know what, for Ultra Instinct, I'm gonna do a joke. And I'm gonna do it seriously, but also a joke. I'm gonna bring this badass mic up on. It was a Sanken CU44X Mark II, which goes up to 50 or 100 kilohertz, I can't remember. And I brought it. I know it's boring, kiddo. I know it's boring, trust me. I will get to the end, but it's a cool ending. And so, here's what's really interesting about it.
This is my inner child.
Yeah, exactly. It's just his inner child. Okay, microphones. So I bring it to the session and I go, I want to use this just on Ultra Instinct, right? And I do this crazy scream, and then the engineer Raleigh goes, this mic's not working, there's all kinds of distortion on it. And I go, no, that's how it sounds in my head. There's no distortion. He goes, I don't know, it's the gain staging in the mic. I don't know if we use it. I go, I don't believe you. I go, tell you what, I'm gonna do the same scream in the control room in your ear that I'm doing on the microphone. And so I did the exact same scream, and he goes, it sounds the same. And I go, what that made me realize was that this fancier mic was so detailed and so clear, and it was picking up all the distortion, and all the folds in my throat were vibrating and causing all kinds of second and third order harmonic distortion that the Neumann TLM 103 was not picking up my entire career. And so I was like...
And this was a microphone that you personally
that I brought to the session. Now, if you're listening to a show over a long time, the mics they use at Crunchyroll and the mics I use are fantastic. I'm saying this mic was particularly detailed, and Neumann's an industry standard, and I still use Neumann mics in my home studio. But this particular mic was really, really, really detailed, and so if you're watching Dragon Ball Super, and anytime it goes to Ultra Instinct, I switched mics, and I was gonna make a video promoting, this is my Ultra Instinct mic, because the frequencies go above 20. It was gonna be partly a joke, right? I never did it. And then I learned a lot in that session. I learned a lot about how microphones work and the detail within harmonics within a given range. In this case, it was 10 to 20 kilohertz versus, anyway. So that's, for those of you nerds out there, recording people, sorry.
If anyone,
I just
any
like the look on
aspiring
your
voice
face.
actors out there are looking for microphones, now you know.
Well, the one I use in my studio is a Microtech M930, but that's another story. Go ahead. Which is like a TLM 103, but different. Go ahead.
Justin, did you?
What was the question?
I'm on fire today. I think
You're
I'm
hot,
gonna
man.
sleep. I don't know. I had one coffee, and the hotel bed was not comfortable, and somehow I'm on fire. But anyway,
It's a good day.
Good day.
The question was, did you do anything specific in the studio to amplify a scene? Any prop, physical movements?
Right.
Speaking of
that.
props.
Nope. Oftentimes I'll punch the walls, but I mean, you know, I have. I don't know why.
At least once.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not gimmicky stuff. You just got to channel all your
Because
acting
everything
into your
gets
voice.
picked up. So if you're moving around too much,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna get the sound of your clothes moving around, or you know, like if you really do hit the padded booth, that's why you can hit it. But you know, you're gonna hear the sound. So everything's got to be kind of off that. But there's definitely physical movement that's happening. For me, I oftentimes will just tighten up, get real stiff. Maybe not so much with Raditz, well, probably with Super Boo, but Yusuke for sure all the time. So there you go.
Yeah. What he said.
As time has gone on, we all grow as creatives. So for this question, would you say you view your roles differently now than you did back then? Or is there something you appreciate more about like the show and your characters now that maybe you didn't recognize when you were first recording?
Go first, because I have a deep answer.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not on mic. Yeah.
No problem. For sure, I suspect. You know, today there's a lot less time to record each character. 20 years ago, that wasn't as much the case. And so certainly thankful for all that time we had to dedicate to the roles and such at that time. But again, 25 years later, you get to kind of connect to it a little faster. You get a little bit quicker at that piece of it. So, but looking at the characters, I don't know. There's still a reverence that I've got every time you step into the shoes of one of these folks. And I guess I look at them as real folks. So each one, regardless of the size of the character, I'm really throwing everything at least that I could conceivably throw at it, whether it was 20 years ago or today. So maybe there's a lot of difference and no difference at all.
What was the question? No, I just want to hear it again. I remember it, but I want to hear that because what you're saying made me think of other things, and I was thinking of other things when you were talking.
Yeah. It was, you know, we grow as creatives. So is there anything that you appreciate or see differently now in the character in the show?
Two things. When I got on the show, I really had a kind of a naive-esque Goku attitude toward it, and I considered it my purpose for being on Earth, that I took it super seriously. And I think it's important to do it that way because I understood the profundity of how cartoons affect kids. I was also born without a father, and so it was important for me to give kids a consistent voice. It had nothing to do with the show wasn't even popular when I was hanging on to it so hard. Like it was popular, but it wasn't like it was today. And it certainly wasn't about money. It was really just about I wanted a mission that I started in 1999. I'm like, I'm not giving up. I got to give these kids a consistent voice because it's just really important to me. And having that honor and privilege, even on a dub, which again I don't look at as less than, and I took it as seriously as it was a pre-lay show or an American cartoon or anything else I've done. And then the other thing that kind of blew my mind was, well, I don't know if I should say that on this panel. I'm going to skip it, but it's a little too personal. But I have to think about my life before I was playing this character, you know, on who I was then. And sometimes it becomes kind of overwhelming, you know. But in terms of like understanding the character and the art and how you've grown on it, it's interesting with Goku because he stays in a beginner's mind. So the way I look at Goku is that he's always stays the same and everyone else grows around him. And so when they try to, you know, and I'll follow if it's Japanese, but sometimes writers, you know, historically in the American show have been inclined to try to write Goku when they're interpreting the script from Japanese as a proud Saiyan warrior, and he's not. He's a kid who likes fighting the strongest no matter what. You know what I mean? And eating, yeah, pretty much that, you know, and training, you know. So it's the hard part for me as an actor is keeping that character consistently fresh and childlike while all the other actors and characters have evolved around. It's actually really challenging because I get about 3 different emotional choices, maybe 4, and then he's fundamentally only growing in time. In fact, I consider when Goku And I had trouble with this in the studio because I'm so married to Goku as being Goku that he would not think of himself as Kakarot that it was hard for me to even process the end of the Broly movie. And then when they explained it to me and I saw it over and over, I'm like, oh, I get it. He's basically saying, you can call me anything as long as I can fight you. Call me Kakarot all day, buddy. Like he was giving him the mystical. He's like, oh, you want some of this? Yeah, call me I don't care. Call me Kakarot. You know, because I look at Goku's identity as being very identified with his grandfather, Earth grandfather, as well as being called Goku, which he says, my name is Goku and I'm a Saiyan, right? He doesn't say he's Kakarot, he says, my name's Goku, right? So this idea that he's looking into his proud Saiyan past hasn't really shown up for me in the storyline yet, and so I don't look at it that way. But if they write the script in Japanese and tell me that's what's going on, I'm always going to follow the canon of the arc of Akira Toriyama's vision. So, that's what I'm going to do no matter what. Thank you. I know it's a complicated answer.
It's interesting because Sean, you did mention prelay and like animation,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was
Dubbing,
which was a big thing before dubbing. Like that was, voice acting that's kind of what it was. And so, what was it like when they were like, yeah, we have this show, it's an anime, we're going to be dubbing it. How was it sliding into that?
Well, it wasn't for me because it was my first audition. And I wasn't an actor, I was a French horn player. But, so it wasn't for me. What I have discovered, having directed prelay shows, having been on major prelay shows, having done this 26 years, is that dub acting, I think, is a little bit harder than prelay acting in some ways. And I think the production should be kind of reversed in some ways. In that, what was I getting at? Justin, you want to comment here?
You're kind of locked into the animation, right? With dubbing, and that's ultimately what's going to dictate your performance. What it is you need to kind of guide yourself into. With prelay.
Oh, I remember. Well, when you're dubbing though, you have to make fit within the flap the emotional thing you would just freely say as an actor. And so now you've got this time and energy to drag out a line to make it dramatic, but you've only got half that time in the flap. How are you going to make it just as dramatic now that you no longer have the time? You have to inflect differently, you have to emphasize differently, you might have to edit the line a little bit. And so when I'm as an actor, I prefer to do prelay acting and then react to picture for screams. And then for dubbing, it's just dubbing, it's what it is. Because I've noticed that animators aren't always great at interpreting emotionally what I'm doing, but I'm very good at interpreting emotionally what I'm seeing. And I think it's hard for a lot of people, because if you're not trained in listening like that all the time, you're not gonna do that. So I know when we were working on Monkey Kid, I was like, can we just do we react, then you animate, and then we'll do the reactions to the animation, because there have been scenarios where I'll do a big scream, and the animation's not as big, or the animation's too big, and I didn't do big enough scream, etc. So, sorry I was distracted there, Justin.
No, but you're right. Getting to the end product quicker with dubbing is a reality of what happens, because you don't have to follow up with the animation. It's already completed.
Yeah.
So I do have a few more questions left myself, but I also want to start opening it up to the audience. So we will be doing fan questions a little differently this year. A QR code will appear on the screens, and you can submit your questions through Play ECCC, and the questions will appear up here on our screens, and we will be able to answer your fan
I just
questions.
find it so hilariously modern and a QR code at the bottom. I'm like, back in the day, it's like, yeah, kid, what's up? I lost my voice on that episode. I'm like, it almost feels ridiculous, but maybe it works really well. Let's find out. How hard is it for Sean to relive his longest DBZ in time? I haven't done it yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I don't know yet.
Laughing is hard. How do you get a genuine laugh?
Laughing is not hard for me. And when I started voice acting, my friend Michael Sidney, he goes, man, you're really good at laughing. Most actors have a hard time with it. I goes, because I'm always laughing. I used to do stand-up comedy, so I have no trouble. Laughing is not hard to me at all. To me, it's one of the easiest things to do. I don't know why.
There you go.
Yeah. Can you act like? Yeah, you just laughed.
Yeah.
Is that real? You're acting, right?
Well, I'm not going to tell you if it's real or not, man. That ruins the thing.
We will never know.
So, all right, so you're going to rotate questions in from the audience with you? Because you have more questions, right?
I have like one or two, and then
Okay.
we can go to these. So one of my other questions was, we've talked a lot about DBZ, but you both have worked on a fair amount of other projects, voice acting. And so I want to give those a little bit of love and ask you, what is a role that you voiced that you absolutely loved, but maybe don't talk about as much?
You ever seen Inside Out?
Yeah.
Disney movie. That's what the inside of my brain looks like, except it's all these characters I have played. And so if I pick one, as I like this one better than I like the others, all the other ones are up there still. And so they get dejected or angry or mad. Raditz starts throwing a temper tantrum. It's nuts. So you can pick a favorite kid, you just can't say that stuff out loud. No, the real answer to this is that for me, I gotta throw everything I have at every single character that I play. Because if you don't, what is the point, right? So I don't know that I've got one that I like more than the other. Truly, they do live up here, and they kind of all inhabit different parts of emotional territory, I suppose, that Justin Cook lives in. So, yeah, they're all here, and I really, truly do throw everything I've got at every single one.
And you're talking about roles that are less popular that I might have played that I don't get enough love.
Yeah.
I loved on Sakamoto and Ninja Nonsense, which is loosely based on Anchorman. And then I also played 12 different thumbs on a show called Thumb Wrestling Federation. And the hardest voice to do on that show, which is harder than even Goku's voice, is I played 12 different thumbs and also the co-host, Colonel Cossack. And Colonel Cossack's always screaming, "Irrelation exit with the falsetto!" And I remember screaming, that's not even as loud as I scream it. And I remember in the session, I go, "Can we not scream every line?" And the director's like, "It's just funny when you scream, just scream every line." And I go, "Well, I can't do these 3-hour sessions anymore." And we had to tone my sessions down for Colonel Cossack. This is the only voice I can only do 1 hour at a time. It is so hard to do, and I'm not even fully screaming at the level I had to scream Colonel Cossack.
Now, is that one of these things where you go in for an audition, you do this voice because it's clever and cool, and then discover later that there's a time limit on it?
Oh yeah. And especially when I told the director, "Can we please not scream every line? There's no dynamics here." And he's like, "It's just funny." And I'm like, I was so mad. I'm like, dude.
You told him he was number one?
No, I flipped him off. In a friendly manner, I did it. And he was like, "It's all right, shot." But that was a weird show. And I got Takamaru, and then there was a bunch, and then it was Dr. Crowler and Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's a bunch of roles I like Ojama Yellow. I've been toying with Ojama Yellow, singing to those Ojamas Coldplay's Yellow, because I think that'd be funny if he's like, and it was all alone. I just think that's funny. I don't know why, sorry. It's an older song, kids. It's an older song. Here's a fun fact. One time I was riding my bike in the middle of the night in Jersey City, because I used to live in Jersey City. And I was riding my bike around late at night. I used to ride late at night. And I'm riding towards Liberty Park, which is where the Statue of Liberty is. And I walk in and people are coming out. And then I see this stage like 200 yards away. And this explosion of light and sound. And it's this gorgeous sound that came out, and it's Coldplay doing like a concert. I walk on a Coldplay concert in the middle of the night in Jersey. That's nothing exciting. I was gonna go for a bike ride at midnight. I'd ride into a Coldplay concert. It was crazy.
Could not happen now.
Would not happen now. It blew my mind. So
It just could be your life.
my life, when I lived in New York, it was so many weird things that happened to me. It was so surreal. I don't think we're in a simulation because I've done the math, but gosh, it sure feels like it. I don't think so, because if the guys who really think they're, well, then just jump off a, cliff and you'll be fine because it's a simulation. So what's the big deal? Because it's probably not. You're gonna be dead. So
The next simulation's not as good, I understand it.
They home for infinite losers. HFIL. Okay.
Let's go to this fan question right
Yes,
here.
let's do it.
I think I remember it. Because it left. It was, what is the line that haunts you and follows you everywhere? I think that's what it said.
Haunts me in what manner? Like, what does that even mean? Like, haunts me?
Maybe like an improvised line.
Because I performed it poorly or performed it well, or I don't know. That's too broad for me. I'm letting Justin go first while I think about it.
I don't know that I've got one. I really don't. I mean, the characters have their phrases that are said, but I don't know that I feel haunted by them necessarily. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that one. I also don't know what my favorite food is. We got that one. Do you have a favorite food?
Well, it used to be like pizza, burgers, and then I got a gut disorder, so now it's like Thai food, which I do like.
All right.
And I do not call Thai food. I just don't. So that was such a dumb thing.
We're human.
Do you ever catch yourself using your character's voice in everyday situations?
There have been a couple embarrassing times I've been a douchebag and lost my cool and said, "You don't really want me to go Super Saiyan now, do you?"
Did they get it?
They got it, yeah, and I was full voice. Yeah, I was like, I was full voice, and it gets very loud. It's. I did not realize this until one time. I think I was yelling in the house, and my girlfriend's like, "You're physically hurting my ears," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, it's painful." So, you know.
Sometimes my laugh will attract that. Hey, wait a second. Did you? That kind of thing. That's fun.
When did you realize Dragon Ball was huge?
Is it?
Is it?
So I'm gonna be a jerk right now. I have an undying love for Dragon Ball. My favorite phrase that I coined is "never underestimate the power of Dragon Ball." And I know that One Piece is having a moment, and I love it, and it's fine. And I'm in that show a little bit on one of the movies, but I'm so biased toward Dragon Ball. I'm like, yeah, when Dragon Ball Super comes back, here's what's gonna happen. And I don't know that it's coming back. It's not a hint. I don't know if it's gonna happen. But if it comes back, here's what's gonna happen: giant Kamehameha. Every other anime, it's just gonna be, and I'm gonna be sitting there going, yeah, Dragon Ball. Don't underestimate the power of Dragon Ball. I'm dying all the way. Because, and I'm analyzing this, trying from an objective space. I'm a little biased, but I try to analyze it from an objective space because One Piece is really great, and there's a lot of episodes. But I love Dragon Ball, so I'm biased, you know.
It's like the WW, like the World Wrestling Federation of like, you know.
They just do anime.
Come on!
Yeah,
I got you! One Piece versus Dragon Ball Z!
And then you Chris Rager out, Mr. Satan, you know.
Do you have a favorite ad-lib or unscripted moment that made it into the final show?
Yes! I forgot my tractor! I totally ad-libbed that. I totally did. Because Goku's being dipped, you know, he's go act like we're fighting Mr. Satan because Chi-Chi's here, right? So he's got to be a bad actor. That's why I made him act so poorly and go, ow! You know, because he's terrible. And then I just randomly said that as I was leaving because I thought I was in character and I thought it was funny. And then I was talking to the director, and then they had to ask him because he wasn't in the session. He's our producer. And I go, can we keep that? He goes, well, ask Justin. And then I got word back from Justin. Yeah, we keep it. And so it's in there. So that's one of them. Do you have one?
I think it was in Battle of Gods, and it was where Brina, as I believe it was either Puar or Chaozu, and kind of buried deep in the wall, it says, "Am I really here?"
Oh yeah, because Chris thinks Puar or Chaozu is like imaginary, and only Tien Shinhan could see them.
It could be, yeah. Yamcha and Tien's imaginary.
Yeah, there's
friends.
imaginary. Yeah, that's right. Chris thinks that. He would have explained it had he been here, but he's stuck in Dallas for some reason. He'll be here tomorrow, though. We're looking forward to seeing him. Do you have any other questions? Yeah.
So right here, what is your personal favorite DBZ movie to work on and why?
Battle of Gods, because I got to play Goku and King Kai, and I had to do that entire scene to make it believable, and I rewrote the entire King Kai part. And the writers are great. I had a different take on it because I didn't think. No, I rewrote the entire Goku part, most of it, because I didn't think Goku would stumble over honorifics to Beerus using a Middle English. Because the original script had "Be thou, though your highness, be thou art." You know, he was trying to be. I'm like, he has no Middle English. He's never read Shakespeare. He doesn't know any of this. So I just made up gibberish, like your highnessness, awesomeness, whatever. I was doing that, and then doing that scene with King Kai and Jason Douglas, who is a really stellar actor, was really nerve-wracking for me because I'm like, I have to act as good as Jason Douglas, which is really hard to do. And I was thinking about him the whole time because he's such a good actor. And doing that whole scene was really, really gratifying, and I felt like it turned out really, really well. What about you?
I would also say Battle of Gods, but my reasoning is slightly different. It was really what kind of helped. It's what brought back this newest iteration of the Dragon Ball cast.
Well, it's kind of the beginning of our modern friendship. We've always been friends, but we weren't really know each other that close until you called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, Sean, it's Justin Cook over at Funimation, and we got to do another movie." And I'm like, "What? I thought this was over." And he's like, "No, we're gonna do a movie." And that's it.
So that one was kind of like a welcome back kind of feel. So there you go.
I actually want to expand on something you just said, Sean, when you were like, "What? I thought it was over." Yeah. How many times
have you thought it was over?
It's the reason there's Dragon Balls in the show. Keep wishing things back. Yeah, when Goku died the first time, when we went to Cell, I thought my job was over. I thought once I moved to LA right before we did Battle of Gods. And I was shocked when Justin called me and said, "Hey, we're gonna do a movie," and that wasn't too shocking. But then after that, he's like, "We're gonna do another series," and I'm like, "What?" And on the one hand, I'm really excited. I love playing Goku. It's the most important and special thing to me. But I can tell you, and I hate complaining about it, but the screens are hard. And I love when they're done. And I love how they make you feel. But you know, I always joke that we're the greatest heavy metal band in the world that doesn't do music because they're always screaming. You know. And so anytime Goku's hair is black, I'm pretty happy because that's how I connect to the character emotionally, you know. And And then also if it's not black, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna probably have to scream to get here, and then do a bunch of screaming then. And it's always like one of those things that you hate when you're doing it, but you're sweating and it's fun. So it's like working out. You hate it when you're doing it and you're satisfied when it's done. And then you get the results if you get muscles, which the results would be, for me, the fans liking it and appreciating it. And so at the end of the day, you know, it's good. But yeah, I thought it was over a couple times. I thought it was over after the last super arc. And I was surprised when Diamond came out too. I was surprised when Superhero came back. I was like, Superhero, oh, and it's Piccolo focused? Oh, Superhero's awesome. It's one of my favorite movies. It's probably my second favorite one. I'm a big Piccolo fan. So I've been you're a big Gohan fan? So all that fan service you got, wasn't that great?
It was great.
So I call it Gohan's final form. That other form he does Super Saiyan 2.5 because his hair's kind of long. It's almost there, you know. And Kyle, I didn't even talk to Kyle. And he did the thing where, like, I kind of made up the thing where I changed the voice slightly for a couple reasons for Super Saiyan 3 and 4, and there's artistic reasons for it. And Kyle, I didn't even talk to Kyle. He just did it. I'm like, Kyle, I don't know if you're copying me, but good on you.
I think it's just, I think
thanks,
the animation
Dad.
yells for it.
What's that?
I think the animation screams for it.
Animation screams for it, and I don't think when I saw Super Saiyan 3, I didn't feel like this voice comes out of the Super Saiyan 3 voice. It was just focused and cool. And I was like, he's physiologically different, his energy's different, and then for Super Saiyan 4, he's more beastly, so I'm gonna add a little more. You know, just to me, it just made sense artistically to do it that way. So I'm really nervous about Daima coming up, but I have been
you'll do fine.
I've been mentally preparing since it dropped, and I think about it. I'm thinking about it now as we're talking about it. And when I get home, I've already been watching the show, and I'm gonna be binging hardcore, and then I isolate and don't talk to anybody, and then I'm gonna fly to Texas and work with this guy, and we're gonna knock it out, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. If you're not nervous before a performance, I feel like any actor, no matter how veteran you are, because if you're not nervous, you might. That's like not being nervous before you like walk on a tightrope across 2 buildings. Like you should always be nervous to some degree. You want a little excitement, and then you kind of shut everything off, become the character, and now you're one with the force, and you go in and do it, and you're done. You know, and you go all the way and go home.
You just brought an entirely new universe into this whole thing.
Well, yeah, I feel like after I saw The Matrix, I was like. And well, I was talking about Star Wars, but when I was thinking about The Matrix and Star Wars, because I remember asking one of the Japanese executives when Goku has Super Saiyan God mode, the red hair, and he was suspending Broly in the bubble, and I was tripping out because that was a power I'd never seen before. And so through a translator, I was like, hey, is this like a new set of powers, like the Force, and you can manipulate objects? No, I'd have a question, and the Japanese executive went, yes. And that was it. And that was all I got. I couldn't get any more.
You needed.
He was like, yes. And I was like, okay, cool. But as far as The Matrix, when you're dubbing, I realize it's like that for me. It's like you're thinking about a lot of, you know, logical things, and you're thinking about your character, and you're thinking about things. You're not really thinking about emotions. And then when the tape starts rolling, the beeps, it almost shuts off, and then you activate that program, and then you just do it, and it's just automatic. And then if you screw it up, you're gonna do it again, right? But it's kind of like The Matrix in that way, that you just download the program into your head and then you just activate it and become one and go, you know?
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Of course that's what he's doing.
Because we did talk a little bit about the transformations and the power-ups, so I do need to ask, no, I'm not gonna ask you to do it. I was gonna say, what was the coolest one? Doesn't have to be your own. Coolest in general.
I think my coolest one watching you was I think it was the Broly movie, but it was when you guys threw Frieza out to handle the fight for the
Oh,
war.
man. That wasn't even the script. We just saw Flap, and we looked at the script, there's nothing, and I think either I thought of it or Chris did, and I saw the Flap, I was like, blah, blah, blah. And
There's
I
your
was like,
favorite ad-lib line question.
Yeah.
Got it.
Have fun, Frieza! We just dropped off Broly and Frieza, all charged up and ready to go. The favorite transformation was Super Saiyan 3. Here's why. And I love my producer for this, and a lot of actors don't get to do this, so I love that they gave me a little leeway in the booth in the sense that I looked at the scene, and he's like screaming, his mouth's open forever. He's like, Super Saiyan 3 forever. He's screaming and screaming and screaming, and I'm like, I don't make that sound like one big scream. So, and I knew enough about digital recording, I had a home studio myself, and I'm techie. And so I'm like, hey, Raleigh, who's the engineer? And I go, can I just scream, yeah, and then stop, and then you play it back, and then when we get to the last quarter of it, I'm gonna start on that pitch, and I'm gonna go, yeah, and I'm gonna keep going as long as I can, and we're gonna stitch 4 of those together, so it sounds like Goku is just doing one giant long scream for Super Saiyan 3, because I can't scream for 3 minutes, but I bet Goku can. So I use digital technology and they're all real screams, but I had to do it over several pieces and stitch it together in Pro Tools. And that's why people think I passed out. But I passed out on Super Saiyan 4 Kamehameha because my voice was lower, the aperture of my voice was larger, and I miscalculated the expulsion of air relative to how much I needed to not explode before I squeezed my diaphragm so much, cutting off blood flow to my brain, causing me to pass out. Which was fun, by the way.
He really does think this way.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't be. But it really is true.
Yeah, it's just how I live. So yeah, that's how that goes. I'm still looking at your nails. They're really great. I think my girlfriend has that gold one. I think she does. She has silver ones too. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
There was a question on here, it left, but I did like it, which
What was it?
It was, what do you think was your career-defining performance?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because I'll be honest with you, if you're a real artist, you need to be self-critical. And I try to be as objective as possible. Once you start believing your own bullshit is the beginning of the end. And so I study ego and I study Buddhism and I study a lot of things to keep that in check. I don't trust that monster. And so there's a lot of my early work on Z I honestly objectively don't think is really great because I'm new at the job. I'm mimicking the Canadian guy. I'm doing the best I can. I don't think I start getting really good at it until Kai. I'm very proud of Kai. I'm very, very proud of, I think the last 4 movies, I just killed it. But and I think Greg Ayers, wait, I'm getting confused. Chris Ayers, sorry. I get their names confused all the time, he's a close friend of mine. But Chris Ayers outacted all of us on the Frieza movie using 14 tanks of oxygen because he had a lung transplant. And he managed to just kick all our ass. I was like, I was throwing everything at that movie. I was throwing everything at Broly. I was just doing whatever I could just to make it just as intense as possible, because the thing is, it's got to match the animation. So when I'm watching it, without any reverb or any other extra effects, I'm thinking when they play it back, does what I did sound as cool as that looks? Which is nearly impossible to do. It's almost like looking up at the ocean and trying to look at the surface. I can never get there. But if I can make it close, once it's within the context of the story and the animation and they have the effects, hopefully it'll be good enough. But you can never, ever, ever say, we'll rely on the effects. No. It has to be if they accidentally released it with no mixing, you should still have a hell of a time. It should still be amazing, right? And I always look at my voice acting as like, if I have one word or one sentence that if you heard that as a soundbite, that in and of itself would be entertaining, is how I'm approaching it. So I could just listen to a soundbite of it. But as far as my best performances, I would say Battle of Gods I'm really, really proud of. Really, really proud of. And Broly, those I think would be my favorite. And a lot of Super, but a lot of my early work, I'm still learning the show, and I try to be clear about that because you never want to get full of yourself on that, you know what I mean? And I think people confuse my confidence with that, but it's not about that. It's just that once I step in the booth, I am Goku and I am confident. There's no question. Once it's on, period. I've got to bring it. Because I can't wait for you guys I love seeing those videos where some shit happens on DragonBall, it's all big, and it's a POV, and someone's like, freaking out, like, yes, let's do it, Because it's the chain of events. It's like the things we were saying at the beginning. If we tell stories, that's the reason I don't want AI telling our stories, and I don't want AI doing my voice. Because we're humans, and humans should be telling our human story. Not a robot. So, and this all affects how you guys come to my table, you will thank me and be kind to me about how it's affected you, and that fuels me into getting back in the booth. It's a big spirit bomb. You guys come to my table, I take all that energy, I bring it back into the booth, and I put it all out again. So that's gotta happen with art. It has to. So anyway, it's a long answer.
Hey, who's your favorite villain on the show?
Ooh.
This is a trick question.
It is a trick question.
Because I'm sitting right here.
Well, no, I'm joking. Super Boo is my favorite. Because you're a Super Boo, right?
I am.
Okay, I got it
Nailed
right.
it.
I got it right. No, my favorite villain is the guy I played in Yu Yu Hakusho who kills your guy. So I played the guy who hits Yusuke with a car.
That is very
on
true.
Yu Yu Hakusho. So my favorite villain is the guy who killed Yusuke on Yu Yu Hakusho.
That's a deep cut.
him.
That's true. That's
That's a true story. And my favorite thing, I'll be honest, I love everything that's happened for me on DragonBall, but at the end of the day for me is like, the cast for me, and we don't always all get along, we're like siblings, right? But to me, I look at, if you're in DragonBall, you're family, whether or not we've met, there's new cast members, I'm just like, And this would have been one of my closest friends of 25 years, along with Chris. And I have a hard time making friends. So, and so I owe like my whole existence to these guys. It's a big deal. And you want another nerdy thing that's a long tangent that's funny? Thank you. It's a big deal because I know it's a big deal subatomically and psychologically and neurologically. Here's why. I was reading this article the other day about this guy who was like Cipher or whatever his name is. He wanted to completely isolate himself in a cave and completely cut off because he was trying to see if there was an internal circadian rhythm, and he found out there was. But he also discovered that he would start hallucinating and seeing things and hearing his voice, and it made me think, we're not necessarily isolated biological things as much as we are, that the threads of these connections and being would really affect that I exist because of everyone else as well. So when he was in this cave, he realized I fall apart without other life forms just by isolating myself, which made me think, are there subatomic are there threads that we can't see it that are connecting us all that I think we can feel through art, etc. And so that's why this is so important to me, because I don't think I would exist without it, which all goes back to one Japanese man named Akira Toriyama and a pen and a staggering imagination, And then here we all are. And that, my friends, is karma. Quite literally. Cosmic. So that's how I feel about this. I owe my whole existence. I consider my purpose being on Earth for doing this. And when I'm done, I can finally die. Not that I want to, but if I do die and it's over, I'm like, okay, it's over. But if I'm not, no, give me a microphone at the hospital, I gotta finish. Whatever. And by the way, Mel Blanc did that. He got in a bad car wreck. And that's why you can hear a lot of room on the mic on some of the old Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff. They had him in a bed, and he was like immobilized, and had a mic on him, and he was doing voices in the hospital because he had a really bad car wreck. It's amazing. Unbelievable. So if I get in the hospital, you bring the mic in there. You're not going to replace
Ride or die, brother, ride or die.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. Everybody's so nice in Seattle. So nice.
Which I think answers the question about what our favorite thing in Seattle is. I've seen that pop up a few times. It's you guys.
Yeah. I like the coffee, but everybody's so nice, It's so nice up here. I like the weather. I do. Well, the reason I like overcast days is because I'm colorblind, and so when it's overcast, the contrast is different, and I can see reds and greens better. And so I like overcast days. When it's sunny, it's a real washed out for me. And so when it's overcast, all the green looks great. It's really, really cool for me. Yeah. So I'll walk around looking at it.
We did establish earlier that screaming is hard.
Yes.
And there was a question on here earlier that was, what do you do for self-care after a long day?
So the key to proper vocal care, to me as a voice actor, is proper technique in the booth, which includes, for those of you who want to be voice actors, proper monitoring. So if people don't realize that, if you are screaming a lot, or you're at a party and you can't really hear yourself, you're gonna blow your voice out super fast. It just happens. Chris and I talk about this all the time. And you can do a trick. I can show you a trick. If you put your fingertips on your ear and you hold your hand like this, like Howard Cosell, and then you start talking and you take both your hands, you will sound so loud and clear in your ears. You'll sound so loud and clear in your ears, right? So the way I protect my voice is I monitor extremely hot. And you think, oh, you're gonna damage your ears. I still got almost 20/20 in this ear, surprisingly. And this ear has hearing loss just because I got sick a long time ago. So, and then I use a compressor in my headphone mix that doesn't print, that kicks in when I scream. So it's because what happens is if you're on a preamp and you're doing the gain staging, sometimes the headphone preamp's not loud enough. So I either gotta add another headphone amp or I do that. And if I've got enough in my cans to where I can hear the mic down in my throat, I can go all day. But if I don't have enough loudness, I'll get tired like after an hour. You've really got to have really, really good monitoring, and you need to pay attention to, if you're screaming, you need to pay attention to your physiological responses. So what that means is if I'm getting a lot of pain that makes my eyes water and sharp pain, I'll tell the and you have to have the emotional gumption to go, I'm sorry, I've got to call the session. And you're gonna, you're afraid you're gonna piss off the crew, or because there's money involved, etc. You just have to protect your voice. And from the beginning of my career, I knew this from being a classical musician. I don't care if you say I have to do the next line. I'm not, because I'm protecting my voice, and I'll just leave, right?
Protecting your craft.
I protect my craft and my voice. So, and so then the other thing I do, and I don't believe in relying on a lot of teas or a lot of things unless you're healing post, because I learned from being a brass player, you got to think about it as a performance art. So, when I was a brass player, if I'm relying on Carmex to keep my lips moist, and then I go to a performance one day, and I've learned to play my French horn that day, and then I show up to the concert, and then I've lost my Carmex. I'm gonna be so emotionally nervous. I'm not gonna be able to play well. You want to make sure that you can do it naked on an island with nothing. You can't have nothing, right? So I don't know why I said naked on an island. I was trying to imbue that you have no accoutrements, right? And so for voice acting, when people are like, oh, I got my teeth, oh, I got my stuff, oh, you get all precious about it, which may work for you. What if you don't have that, or when you rely on it? It's better to rely on a proper voice acting technique in the booth, and then don't speak for a few days if your voice is hurting from a session. Just don't speak. Drink lots of water. You can use your throat coat teas and your soothing teas, and sometimes I use this one if my voice is really bad. There's this Chinese thing that's thick syrup that I think you know the name of, that I can't say in Chinese, that is really, really good. But by and large, it's proper technique, lots of water, knowing when to quit, knowing your body, and then taking, when you're done with the session, just refusing to speak. It's more about discipline than it is accoutrement, right? So can we do a group Kamehameha? Maybe. We're running out of time.
We are, and I was actually going to say this would be the last question, but then can we take a picture at the end of this with everybody in the
Sure.
background? Yeah.
Who's the most R in the show? I think you're on the wrong show. That's Lucario. That's not Dragon Ball. They have Ki and Chi and Dragon. No, I'm joking.
So one last thing I wanted to ask was, are there any projects, personal or professional, that you are working on and that you can talk about that you would like to share?
And we're going to show called DragonBall Diamond, but I haven't started yet. I only did the first episode, right? And that's out, so I can talk about that a little bit. I just can't tell you what's going on in it, although you guys seen the drops that they had last week regarding Super Saiyan 3 and 4. I'm in pre-production, maybe going to be working on potentially a Pathfinder Dungeons & Dragons game that I'm producing with the company. So we're working on that, and I'm not really voice acting right now except on Dragon Ball right now. What are you working on?
Look, there's always brand new episodes that launch nearly every day, dubbed on Crunchyroll. Go check them out. It's what we're all working on.
And we've been working on Sparking Zero the last year too. Yeah, we've been doing that. Sparking Zero and a bunch of other games. I'm mainly working on Dragon Ball games and Dynamo right now. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for being here today. Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming out.
For this new Ramble.
Let's all stand up.
That's amazing. Thank you. We're gonna do a picture. We're gonna get the crowd in the background. That'd be great.
All right, everybody stand up. On the count of 3, you're going to yell, clap, cheer, toss the baby in the air, throw your hands in the air, whatever. I'm going to drop her on his phone. Are we getting house lights up just a little bit? Right over here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. One more time, make the noise.